Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jag, and in today's class we're going to continue with our Math 10 content. We're going to go through the trinomial factoring, and what I want to do today is go through several different examples so everyone can understand basically where we're getting the factors from. And what's really important is that we are looking at the different signs, okay? Especially if you see a negative sign, okay? I can use my calculator to come up with my two factors. But make sure you are getting the right factors with the right signs. Okay, with that, let's get started. I put an example on the board here. It's x squared plus 6x plus 5. Okay. So what I always do is I write down the product and sum on the side. Okay. Now the product means that two numbers, I'm looking for two numbers. When I multiply them, it has to equal to this last number here, which is 5. Okay. The sum of the two numbers is when you're adding the numbers together, it has to equal to this middle term, which is 6. Okay, and I notice in front of the signs here, the signs are positive. Okay, so both of these numbers are also positive. So I'm going to make a line. I'm looking for factors of 5. Okay, so I know I could do 5 times 1, which is equal to 5. Okay, I can also do 5 plus 1, which is equal to 6. And I see that it satisfies both the product and sum rule here. So those are my two factors, okay? Now some teachers will allow you to just write the factors out because it's a simple trinomial. However, we are going to go through the steps together on the board here. I'm going to keep the first term the same, so it's x squared. I'm going to break down the 6x into my two factors. So my factors are 5 and 1. So I'm going to put plus 5x plus 1x, okay? And this last term, which is 5, is going to stay the same. Does everyone see that? So we're keeping the first term and the last term the same, and we are just breaking down the middle term into the two factors, okay? In the next step, we're going to group these terms together. Okay, so the first two and the last two. Okay, so the first two terms here is x squared plus 5x. I'm going to take out a common factor. I can see they both have x here, so I'm going to take the x out. Okay, inside the brackets, I'm going to write down what is left over. Okay, so from here I have two x's, so x. From the 5x, I'm taking the x outside. I'm left with just the 5. And then you move on to the next two set of terms. I have 1x plus 5. Now I notice that there isn't a common factor here. Again, that doesn't mean it's 0. It's going to be 1. I'm just going to take out a 1 here. Okay? And inside the brackets, I'm not changing anything. I'm still left with x plus 5. Okay, so a good way to know that you have the right answer here is in this intermediate step, whatever you get inside the brackets should be the same. So I notice inside my brackets, in both of them here, I have x plus 5. So I know that the answer is correct, okay? So in one of the brackets, this is the final step for my factors. In one of the brackets, it's whatever you see on the outside. Okay, so you see I see x here plus 1. So that's actually one of my factors, x plus 1. And the second factor is going to be what's inside the brackets, which is x plus 5, okay? So x plus 5 is a common factor here, okay? Now say I did the intermediate step and I noticed inside the brackets I wasn't getting the same answer, or maybe the signs were different. Okay, that means you actually did something wrong. I would make sure I go back and check my answer and just check the signs, because that's the most common mistake that students make, all right? So I hope everyone understood that. Okay, so with that, let's try one more example here. Okay, so we're still going to try one, so I'll just take out this part right here. Okay, we're going to try another example that has still just the positive signs, okay, before we move on to the ones with the negative signs. So let's try this one. So this is x squared plus 6x plus 8, okay? So at this point, we should know the very last number, which is 8 here in the trinomial. This is going to be your product, okay? The sum is always the number that's in the middle here, okay? Or the number that is associated with the x, which is 6. We're going to make a line. Okay, all the numbers I state on the side are just going to be products of 8. Okay, so I know right away 4 times 2 is 8, right? When I add them together, it's going to be 4 plus 2, which is equal to 6. Again, I can see both the product and sum have been satisfied, and even the signs, okay? The signs are positive here. So I know that I have the right two factors, okay? So let's show our steps for this. We're going to keep the first term the same again, so x squared, okay? Now I'm going to write out my two factors. My two factors are 4 and 2, so plus 4x plus 2x. And the last term is 8. We're going to keep that the same. So again, I'm going to underline the 8 and the x squared. So these two terms that I underlined, we're just going to keep them the same as we are doing all of our steps here, okay? So just break down that middle term, which is the 6x, and I broke it down into the two factors that I found. All right, in the next step, we are going to group these terms together. So you're grouping the first two terms and the last two terms, okay? So in the first two terms, I see I have x squared plus 4x. I'm going to take out a common factor, which is x here. What I'm left with is basically, I had two x's, I'm left with x. And the second term is 4x. I took the x out, and I'm left with the 4. Does everyone see that? So this part you might find kind of simple because we did go through the common factoring. And if you're not sure how to do that, please make sure you're checking out my previous video. I have common factoring part 1 as well as part 2. Okay? So let's go to the next two terms. I have 2x plus 8. A common factor here is the 2 because I can divide both of these terms by 2. So let's take it out. Okay, the first term is 2x. I took the x out, so I'm just left with the 2. Oh, we took the 2 out actually, sorry. So we're left with the x, okay? The last term is 8. Because you take out the 2 here, I'm just going to do 8 divided by 2, which is equal to 4. So again, this is my intermediate step. I'm doing a mental check. I'm checking both of the brackets, okay, just to make sure the terms are the same, which they are. In both the brackets, I have x plus 4, okay? So one of the factors is basically x plus 4, what I see inside the two brackets. And the second term is what I see outside the brackets, okay? So I see x plus 2, okay? And that's going to be my other factor. And make sure, again, you are taking the sign that is in front of the number here, okay? When you're writing the second factor, this is the one that is outside the brackets, okay? So make sure you're just watching for the signs, all right? So you can see that the two examples that we did here, they included only the positive numbers here. And you could see that they're very simple questions. So with that, let's try one more example, okay? And I'm going to pick an example that has basically a negative sign, okay? I'm going to take this off. Okay, and let's just keep the product sum on top here, okay? And again, always write down the product and sum on the side, okay? And that way you can still show your work and the teacher can see what your thinking process is. Okay, so let's try this one. So this is x squared minus 7x plus 10. Okay, yeah, that looks good. Again, the product is going to be that last number. Okay, in front of the 10 is a plus, okay? So the product is positive 10, okay? And if you look at the sum this time, again, the term associated with the x is 7. This is negative 7, okay? Because I see a negative sign in front. Let's make a line. I'm looking for two factors, okay? And you're just looking for factors of 10, okay? So I know I could do 5 times 2, which is equal to 10, okay? And again, the sum has to be 7. So I can't just do 5 plus 2. That would give me positive 7. The only way that I can get to negative 7 is if both the 5 and the 2 were negative. Does everyone see that? So I'm doing negative 5 plus negative 2, negative 7, okay? And even when you multiply it, I'm doing negative 5 times negative 2, and it's equal to positive. Two negatives make a positive, so it's equal to positive 10. Okay, so when you write your factors here, make sure you're not just writing 5 and 2, my factors are actually -5 and -2. All right? So one more time, we're going to show our steps here, okay? So I'm going to keep the x squared the same. Okay, we are breaking down, okay, our two factors here. Okay, so we got -5x, -2x, and this last term, which is the +10, we're going to keep that the same. Okay, so I'm going to put +10. All right, so there have been a couple of questions from students in terms of like the two factors. What order am I writing the two factors in? So here I put -5x, -2x. Okay, so can I actually put it the other way around and put -2x and -5x? Okay, so the answer to that is yes, you can. And it doesn't make a difference because I'm actually going to just group factor it and in the next step here. Okay. And the only thing I have to make sure about is in the intermediate step again, make sure you have the same factors inside the brackets. Okay. So my first two terms are x squared and 5x. I can take out the x one more time. Okay, I had two x's. I took one out, so I'm left with 1x. Okay. Here I have -5x. I took out the x. I'm left with -5. One more time, okay? Make sure you are watching the signs here. So if you get to this next, the next two terms here, I see it's -2x plus 10. Whenever I see a negative here, always take the negative outside the brackets, okay? A common factor here is 2, so I'm going to take out -2. I'm left with x, okay? Now look very closely here. I have +10, okay? Divided by -2, -5. And again, if you're not sure about the signs, I always just go back and look at the first bracket and I make sure the signs are the same, okay? And that way I know I have the right answer here. So now we're going to write our two factors, okay? Again, whatever's outside the brackets, which is x minus 2. Let's underline that. And whatever is inside the brackets is a common factor. So it is x minus 5. All right? So this is basically my final answer. I have my two factors. It's x minus 2 and x minus 5. All right? A good way to check your answer is basically foiling out my final answer here. Okay? When you foil it out, you're just basically expanding and simplifying these binomials here. And I should end up basically with this trinomial that I started with at the very beginning. And that's always also a really good check. Okay? When you get really good at doing the FOIL method, you'll be able to just mentally check your answer. You don't even have to write it out, okay? There aren't any questions here where the teacher will ask you to actually check your answer for the trinomials. And some teachers don't even mind, again, if you don't show your work for this. And the reason actually that we are showing our work is within the next section, you will be doing complex trinomials. And for the complex trinomials, I do have to show my work. This is the decomposition method for trinomials and when you're factoring it, okay? And the trinomials just get a little more complex, okay? So that way you should always be showing your work. I can make sure I have the right answer. And it makes the complex trinomials a little bit more simple, okay? All right, so if there are no questions, that looks good. That's going to bring this video to an end. Again, we covered Math 10, and this was basically the simple trinomial factoring, as a lot of students were asking for a video on this, okay? It is, the concept is a little bit tricky, and if you do more practice questions, you will get the hang of it. Okay, so thank you for watching. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and I will see everyone next time. Thanks, bye.